Budgets matter. Whether you like them or not, they have a real effect on our lives for years to come. Good budgets improve the cohesion and prosperity of the country. Bad budgets can do great damage. This year's budget mattered more than most. But how can we judge it? How do we decide if this was a good budget or a bad one? You have to start by looking at the state of the country as a whole, our weaknesses and our strengths. Only then can you assess the real value of a budget. How well does it tackle our weaknesses? How well does it build on our strengths? There is a lot we can be proud of in Britain. Many people achieving great things, energy and inventiveness, the determination to do our best for our children and their future. But the truth is that as a country we have many weaknesses too. We all know them. Confidence and trust in Britain is low. There is too little long-term stability and too much insecurity at home and at work. Will inflation stay low? Will interest rates rocket upwards again? No wonder investment is low. The result is that we end up borrowing money we haven't got to pay for government spending and even to pay for Tuesday's tax cut. So our national debts are still growing. We have a very high level of unemployment, and connected with both of these, our education system is poor and underfunded. Underfunded education, unemployment, debt. Three linked issues which all arise out of our failure to create a stable environment in which to invest. Until we free ourselves from that vicious circle, we will never achieve sustainable prosperity. And until we do that, nothing else is possible, including permanent cuts in taxation. Those are the key facts which any budget should be about. So let's examine them. Over the last 5 years, the government has run up an overdraft of £160 billion. That's £6,200 for every single taxpayer in the country. And next year, the government says they will borrow over £22 billion, more than £700 for every second of every day of the year. Borrowing today means higher taxation tomorrow. One factor, a big factor, has added to this burden of debt. It is unemployment, still higher than 2 million. Unemployment has a tragic cost in human terms, but it has a massive cost in economic terms too. There are fundamental reasons why unemployment remains such a problem for the future. Think of any child or young person you know. How are they preparing for their future in the adult world? What advice do you give them? What will make the difference in their lives? Of course, there will be many things: luck, hard work, imagination. But greater than all of these is the opportunity that training and education bring. We must make sure that everyone makes the most of their chances in education. It is their most precious chance. What makes sense for them makes even more sense for Britain as a whole. At the moment, class sizes are rising. There are now over 1 million children in primary schools in classes over 30. Yet last year, the government reduced education funding by £50 for every primary school child and £200 for every secondary school child. That's a £6,000 cut for a class of 30. That's why Gillian Shepherd's Department for Education and Employment said this year in a secret memo, insufficient resources now threaten the provision of education in the state school sector. But this year, the government has denied education the boost it needed. They say they are spending more, but it's local authorities who will have to find that money by raising council taxes and cutting other essential local services. Debt, unemployment, underfunded education. The budget is the annual opportunity for a government to identify the great central needs of this country and start to do something about them. Of course, we'd all like lower taxes, but tax cuts have to be earned or they will not last. So we need to invest more. Investment in real terms has fallen steadily in the last few years. Investment in manufacturing is still too low. Government investment will fall by 30% over the next 4 years. We need stability, which means a low inflation target of 0 to 3%. We need policies that will give people real confidence. Our interest rates should be competitive. At the moment, they're above those in the US, France, Germany and Japan. Let's hope they are now going to come down. But above all, and this is the central Liberal Democrat conviction, we need real action on education to lay the foundations for the sustained prosperity that could pay for permanently lower taxes in the future, so that we have a system that allows and encourages each and every child to learn and to put to good use the skills and talents that in so many lie unrecognized, to use the energies and inventiveness of this country's people for the benefit of the country as a whole, to lift the cost of unemployment from the shoulders of us all. So we know what the problem is, and we know what needs to be done about it. So I return to the only question that matters about Tuesday's budget. Will it help? Well, the Conservatives went for short-term tax cuts. They've done it before, of course. Before the last election, they cut taxes and promised to cut them some more. Instead of tax cuts, we got the highest ever rise in taxes. Since 1992, a Tory tax bombshell of £1,150 extra tax for every family. This budget is another gamble. The gamble is with Britain's economy. They're using borrowed money that we'll have to pay for in the hope of buying our votes. Yet Labour choose not to oppose them. If Labour cannot stand up for education in opposition, what trust can we have that they will do so in government? Or that they will put responsible economics before the call of short-term politics? This is the time for investment for the future. That is why Liberal Democrats will vote against the penny cut in income tax. Last year, the government said they understood that argument. The weakness of the economy meant that we couldn't afford any tax cuts. This year the economy is no stronger, but suddenly tax cuts are not only possible, but essential. Is it really just coincidence that there might be an election coming up soon? So if Ken Clarke had proposed a budget to help the country, rather than a budget to help the Conservative Party, what could he have done? This is what the Liberal Democrats proposed: to raise education standards, reduce class sizes, repair school buildings, and guarantee to every 3- and 4-year-old access to preschool education if their parents want it, an additional investment of £2.5 billion in education for the future. A plan to take some of the lowest paid out of tax altogether, 750,000 people. That's one way to increase the opportunity to work and bring down unemployment. A responsible approach to public borrowing so that we can bring interest rates down, and action to improve the environment. But above all, the commitment to find the funds that will give Britain the best education system in the world. We know that will be difficult, but if we are to share prosperity tomorrow, we have to invest today. That's how to create the economic performance that will get people back to work, reduce the call on the welfare budget, pay for good quality services, and set taxation on a downward path. Only the Liberal Democrats have made it clear what we believe needs to be done. We published a menu with prices, what we should spend, why we would spend it, where the money comes from. The Conservatives choose to gamble with your money, and the Labour Party is frightened that if they tell you the truth, you won't like it. Increasingly, it's clear. The Liberal Democrats become daily more important, because if we don't say things, they won't be said, and if we don't do things, they won't get done. In local government, all around Britain, in by-elections, and in Europe too. Thought through policies for the longer term, clearly stated and fully costed. Only the Liberal Democrats show you the way in which we can, together, make Britain prosper in the world today.
That was a budget response by the Liberal Democrat Treasury spokesman, Malcolm Bruce, MP.